Alright, hello everybody, and let's go ahead and get started here. So, what we need to first figure out is a way to convert all of these NURBS curves into geometry, because Maya's software, Maya's mental ray hardware, they don't necessarily render curves, so you need actual geometry to render out. So what we want to do, and what we want to figure out, is a way to actually make the NURBS curves into geometry. The easy way that I've found, and a decent way to go ahead and do this, is just use the actual paint effects that are already inside of Maya. So if we go ahead and just hit F6 on our keyboard, you can see we get into the rendering tab, and you'll get a paint effects menu here. So let's go ahead and get started, and just simply select the curve, and we're going to hit down on our keyboard so that we can get into the shape node of said curve. Come up here to paint effects, curve utilities, attach brush to curves, and you can see we'll get a representation of what is geometry for our curve. But you can see that if I actually select this, you can see where our actual geometry that's getting created for something like this isn't necessarily real clean. So we need to go ahead and clean this up and make sure that this is going to represent itself in a clean way. So we'll just hit Control A here and take a look at some of the attributes here. And we just need to go ahead and take a look at our twist tab. Just turn on our forward twist, and that should clean up, at least for the most part, your geometry. Okay, so we'll just go ahead here and walk our way through creating the NURBS curves and the paint effects generation for the rest of these NURBS curves here. So paint effects, utilities, attach brush to curves, and that looks like it's a decent generation there. So okay, we'll just go ahead and select these, just making sure that you hit down, hit G on your keyboard, select the curve, hit down, hit G on your keyboard. Okay, select the curve, hit down, and then hit G to repeat the command. And you just have to basically walk through the rest of these. Just trying to make sure that we don't select anything that we don't want here. Okay. So we'll go in and just select all of these NURBS curves here. And you'll see that I'm not actually selecting the plus symbols, which indicate that IK handle. Okay. And these turn black because this is actually going to be geometry when we go to create this. Okay. So let's go ahead here and select our front NURBS curves. And before I actually jump in there and jump forward, I want to make sure that I select the correct geometry here, and just make sure that everything is generated fine. So that looks fine, and I'll have to turn the forward twist on for that as well. Okay, so just select the curve, paint effects, curve utilities, attach brush to curves. You can see where the geometry there is a little bit malformed, and that's fine. Just go ahead and turn on that forward twist, and it should give you at least clean geometry there. So just go ahead and select that last one there. Turn on the forward twist, and for the most part we actually have our rig visualization set up, but I want to go ahead and also do the eyes here. Okay, so we'll go to paint effects, curve utilities, just basically the same process that gets repeated, a lot of times. So just paint effects, curve utilities, attach brush to curves, and that actually came out fine. So we need to go ahead and do our last one here, which is going to be the four-way, and we're going to use the same method here, but I don't want to go ahead and actually select this because this is going to end up making all of the actual curves and a few other things here in the scene that I don't want generated on. So we'll just go ahead and use the wizard script here. Just, recreate that control curve. Go ahead and just select it, paint effects it, and it's just going to be much easier that way. Okay, so just making sure that that entire curve looks fine there. Yep. So go into our outliner here, select the last one, which is going to be these ones. Go ahead and group them, and I'll just center the pivot on it. Just move it over, just making sure that I rotate it 90 degrees. And I'm going to go ahead here and move this up, and I'm definitely going to have to scale it here. Okay, and I'm just going to try and get these placed properly. And it looks like I need to go at least a little bit to the right, so down a little bit, maybe scale it up just a little bit more. And it looks like it's going to be close. Okay, so we'll go ahead and delete the null group, which is the curve that we just generated and we don't want. Okay, we'll go ahead and select all these paint strokes, including the group 2. So that we select all that paint effects that we want generated and we want converted. So now we'll just come up here to modify, convert paint effects to polygons, and this may actually take a little bit depending on the system that you have. Okay, so with all those selected, we'll just go ahead and freeze the transformations, center the pivot, and clear the history on them. Okay, come up here and just delete the paint effect strokes since we aren't going to need them. Select all these entire groups of the actual geometry that we just generated. Come up here to edit, ungroup. Okay, so we get clean geometry. So let's go ahead and select all those geometric strokes here. Hit F3 on your keyboard, mesh, quadrangulate, and this will just take a minute to go ahead and do. Okay, so now you can see where you get a rather large visualization here, but I actually forgot a step and I need to jump back a few here. Before we actually go ahead and convert them, I need to make sure that I get a size that's going to be fine here, and it's all going to be somewhat well done. So just make sure that you have all your strokes basically set up, and let me go ahead and just shift P to make sure that they're all out of the group and they're all in one here. Just want to go ahead and select all of them, come up here to paint effects, share one brush. This way I can go ahead and change the size on all of these at one time. So with them all selected, we'll just come over here to brush 2, change the global scale here to 1. So now you can see where that changes the scale down so that it's not so large in our scene. And now we're ready with all of them selected just to come up here to modify, convert paint effects to polygons. Okay, just reopen our outliner here. And we'll just take these groups, just edit them, ungroup, just selecting them, and we'll come up here to edit, ungroup. So now we actually get the geometry nodes. Just go ahead and delete these brush strokes since we aren't going to necessarily use them, and we'll just go ahead and shift select all of them, hit G to group them, and we will call this the rig visualization. Okay, go ahead and just move that off screen there. Center the pivot, freeze the transformations, and clear the history there. Okay, so we'll just take our NURBS curves, go ahead and hide those, and we just need to jump into our hypershade here so that we can set up some shaders and apply them. So we'll just jump into the hypershade here, and I'm just going to maximize the bottom workspace here, and we need 4 different shaders. Okay, and we'll go ahead and just select one, and we will go ahead here and turn it blue, maybe just a little bit lighter, just so it's going to show up well. And we also need to change the self-illumination tab to the same color we just created for that blue, but instead of having it all the way out, we want to have it somewhere in the middle, and this isn't going to be so bright, but it's still going to be bright enough that we're going to see it when we render it. So we'll go ahead and select the second one here, do the same thing because we need a red. Okay, third one here, go ahead and create the green that we need. Okay, the fourth one here, we'll go ahead and create the yellow that we need. Okay, just minimizing, or moving it about halfway down. So let's go ahead and select all the blue ones here that we need. So we'll go ahead and select these, this, this larger one. Okay. Go ahead and do that larger one. Select these. And I want to go ahead and select that middle one as well. Okay, we'll go ahead and apply the blue to that, so you can see where it turns blue. Okay, go ahead and select all the red ones that we need. And I actually have to select that other one to be blue. Okay, so selecting all the ones that we need, they're going to be red here, which include that 4-way. As well as the eye. Go ahead and apply the red shader to those. Okay, go ahead and select that eye because that's going to be blue. Also that curve because that's blue. And we'll go ahead and select these inner ones. Go ahead and turn these green, as well as this arrow, I believe. Go ahead and turn those green by simply applying the shader there. Go ahead and select these curves because they were yellow, and we'll go ahead and apply that. And we will also apply it to the eye here. So now we have our rig basically set up to where it's going to be renderable. Let's go ahead and just make sure that we take a look at our geometry here, and we simply have to select some of these because they haven't been quadrangulated too well, so just go ahead and reselect them. Just F3 on your keyboard to go into the Polygons menu, quadrangulate, and you can see where they've been quadrangulated fairly well. Okay, so now we're ready to I think call it an end to this lesson, and you can see where you'll now actually have the ability to go ahead and render that out since it's actual geometry. But what I want to go ahead and do before we really have the ability to go ahead and render this out is I actually want to have the ability to where if I go ahead and select this geometry here and just add it to its own layer real quick, I want to have the ability to go ahead and move one of these NURBS curves and actually have the geometry to follow underneath of it. And so in the next lesson I will show you how to go ahead and do that, and we'll just have to simply work through the process of going ahead and doing that. And it's mainly just going to be a lot of parent constraints, and then we'll go ahead and come back and have the ability to go ahead and render out. So yeah, come on back.